Oh, I might call this an emergency update. I just prayed for quite some time and actually meditated that I probably will only be online presence for the next few days, only the nightly uploads and the weekly texts. I'm doing them every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. So I thought, I can do that. I'm going to teach in a little while. But then I thought, when I remember things, right now, I'm not sure if the crisis in our city is being solved. I'm not sure if there was arrest made. I think his name is Trinidad, the man that they have the warrant for the tragic murder of that young girl, Villanueva. I believe she had 3 children. And it's very tragic because the father of those children died in the beginning of the year in a traffic accident. And then, of course, the mother was murdered. What does this have to do with anything? I'm sure the Kohler Times, in a good way, is going to try from Freedom of Information requests to find out if that girl had contacted the PD ahead of time in a domestic violence thing. Whether she did or not, I'm not aware of that yet. But the Kohler Times actually did a good thing with their series called Broken Doors, and they tried to show the problem within the system, that when a wife or a girlfriend, spouse says, I need to get a restraining order, and then the PD would do a restraining order, and then later, tragically, they're killed, the women. Now, this is why integrity in the system makes a difference for you, for your department, Mr. Markle. Now, I'm not going to give the names again, but I had somebody, and I actually gave the names when this other incident happened with you, and this is going to have to do with integrity in your department. I had a friend, an acquaintance. He had a nice, this is not anybody on the street, all right? Some of them like to just legal guns, shooting at gun ranges and all that, all right? And he had a nice $500-600 handgun, and he was on the job. He has his own business. I'm not going to give names this time. So one day he was at work. He's in private business. Somebody went into his vehicle, stole the gun. Now, it was a very nice neighborhood where we live, in a nice neighborhood of Corpus Christi, all right? It was called, it's out on Staples. It's King's Crossing. All right. So he reported the gun missing to the cops. But he knew he would try to find out who stole the gun, and he went Facebook, and does anybody know I was working in an expensive area, and sure enough, he himself figured out who took that gun, because they showed that there was a kid that had drug problems in that neighborhood, and he kind of was doing breaking and enterings. Tragic story, drug problems, but living with his father or parents there, okay? So, my acquaintance, my friend, because I don't want to give the names so you don't target people, he actually then went on Facebook. I got my gun, I find out who took it, called the cops. Cops showed up at that house I just mentioned the place, all right? Whatever. And they showed up, and he was there with his truck, and so the cops went in. Going to talk to and the officer told my friend, yes, the kid that lives here has drug problems. He's been doing breaking and enterings even in the neighborhood and all that. And then when the officer came out, my friend thought, I'm going to get my gun. The officer said he talked to them and all. And then, like very soon, the next day or whatever, he got a letter from PD that said, well, your case is not going to be solved, which was very strange. how quickly that letter came. We looked at it, but we're not going to be able to solve the case. Now, I showed the letter at the time when I made my video. Had the letter, I said, look at that. Then I videoed. I made videos, which the Ccpd watches. And I said, now look at this. And they sent this letter. And I tried to explain to my friend. I said, what probably happened was that officer went later, retrieved the gun, talked to the family. We know your son has problems. We're not going to press charges this time because the young boy, or however old he was doing that, and they retrieved his evidence. Of course, that family is not going to say, the cop took the gun. But what more than likely happened is that cop kept that gun. Then when I made the videos, now I knew more than likely that's what happened. And then I made the videos. Said, look at that. They sent the letter. And then lo and behold, after I made the videos explaining what you can hopefully see right now, they sent him a letter. And he was surprised. And he was happy. But I knew they manipulated him. And he went on Facebook, I got it, believe it or not. And he was surprised. He said they found it in another city, somewhere else. And they returned the gun that more than likely PD kept. Just went in, did what I explained to you, knowing that that family was not going to say the cop took the stolen gun. And knowing that my friend, once he got the letter, that this is not going to be solved. And what more than likely happened is the cop kept the gun. Told the PD sent an official letter that this crime will not be solved. And then lo and behold, why did they have to say? I believe it was all fake, a ruse, that the cop just wanted that nice gun. It was a nice gun. But then when I shined light on it, he had to come up with a way to say, and my friend was, can you believe they found it in some other city? And that other city contacted the Corpus Christi Police Department. Said, oh, do you have a missing gun? And why another city? Because there's no report that PD would do here. Oh, we went in later to the same house, you see? And all they'd have to do is, oh yeah, we got a call. No report. Return a gun before. Now, why is that important? First of all, it's criminal, if that's what happened, which I think happened. But second, that's when you do Freedom of Information request caller times, remember who you're dealing with. We had another tragic case of a young kid who died at a sporting event here. Caller times exposed this. What happened was, at the fire department or at the police department, private security firms often hire the ambulance or the PD to do security, all right? Now, when I worked at fire department, sometimes I worked overtime, and we had an ambulance that would go to the football games and do standby. And it was nice. This was in Kingsville. Also, we did the college games. Used to be A&I University. It later became A&M University. And we would be there on the ambulance. And it was nice because you got overtime. We also had a case recently, just in the paper yesterday. A sheriff down in the valley, a 20-year man that worked for the law enforcement, he got fired 20-something years because he'd said he was on duty. This just came up yesterday in the paper. And what he was doing was mowing an airport. He was doing a private job that he had, like baling hay, making money, but he was saying on the time card that he was on duty. Now, we used to have problems with the fire department. Some of our guys, some of our captains, they're not there anymore. But on the weekend, they would be gone all day. You know, go to the house, I'm on the radio, but if you need me, call me. And we had a little firehouse called Station 2. And there was only 2 people there. And so if that captain, look, I wrote on that. Sadly, I'll be honest, they got the chief fired over that. The former chief. Okay. Oh, he retired. I liked him, and he was a good man. But I wrote letters to the city while working there. I said, look, he called the guys to go way out to Baffin Bay in the ambulance to help him fix a flat, left the station empty. I did a whole thing on that, and he had to retire. And I liked him. I won't give his name. Okay, I liked all those guys. But so what you have sometimes in law enforcement or emergency service, guys would say they're out of, I'm doing overtime, but they're not there. They go somewhere else. So what happened in our city, it's not a big thing right now. I'm just trying to show you something here. Tragically, we had a kid that died at a sporting event. I forget now if he was bit by killer bees or something happened. And then the ambulance, of course, showed up later, picked the kid up, and he passed away. The parents were wanting to find out a little more about, the death of their son. And they got the official police report. And the official police report was wrong. The official police report said things that this happened, that happened, the other thing happened. And I remember the parents said, but why did they lie? What happened was that PD, that Ccpd cop, who was working, if you will, like I just explained, he might have left. He was on overtime doing things. He wasn't there where he was supposed to be. I'm not blaming him for the death of that son. But the parents were confused. Why did the cops say this happened and there was a nurse, and then they had other witnesses there said, no, he wasn't there, that cop wasn't there, because he would have gotten in trouble for not actually being there when he was getting paid the overtime. And then eventually the way Chief Markle resolved it, they said, but he lied on an official report. And the chief said, well, that's really not an official report. He did his own in-house report. And now, what would prevent the Caller Times, when they do a Freedom of Information request, for them, if they're like that on the official records, if you have no fucking integrity in the system, what would prevent you from grabbing the report? Oh yeah, she contacted us. Yeah, go, there's your report. What happens about all that other shit that's gone on the last 20 years out here? Okay, so that's your emergency update for your city.